In general, there are four pathways to depression. The first is that some of us are just born with the tendency to be depressed or anxious. If we need to determine whether we are at risk, there is unfortunately no direct test. But if it's possible, it can be helpful to figure out whether members of our family who are biologically related to us have depression or mood issues. Second, we may become depressed because of stressful events, in particular the loss of a loved one or life transitions such as a change in our job. Next, we might be depressed because we've stopped doing what we love to do, and this can sneak up on us. So for example, maybe we love running, but as the weather gets colder or we get busy at work, we stop running. This may not seem like a big deal at the time, but over time, we may wind up feeling depressed because we are not engaged in the very activities that keep us happy and motivated. And finally, we may be depressed because we have thought patterns that tend to make us feel better rather than worse. But if we are ruminating about negative things and just beating ourselves up, eventually that style of thinking gets us depressed. If we feel like there is something happening where we are vulnerable to depression because of our genetics or biology, a good first-line treatment is antidepressants. Second, if there is something stressful in our lives, we can focus coping around that issue. These events are hard enough, but by understanding why it makes sense that we are feeling badly, but reminding ourselves that over time our mood will improve, it will give us a better chance of riding out the storm. Next, if we notice that we aren't doing the things that we typically like to do and this is bringing us down, behavioral activation is a great strategy for managing depression. And finally, if we notice that we have patterns of thinking that leave us more depressed, let's see if we can try to change that thinking. The reason is that when we ruminate about negative things over and over again, we need something else to think of that's positive over and over again to challenge that style. When we are depressed, we may have trouble remembering the positive things in our life, so having a list that reminds us gives us a fighting chance. So if we monitor whether we are depressed, figure out why we are depressed, and work hard at implementing coping strategies, we will be able to manage our depression and realize that we are not so nuts after all.